Scotland and the United Kingdom are going through a strange yet critical period in their histories. Independence may be temporarily parked, while political debate is convulsed by Brexit. What is at stake is not only terminating membership of the European Union after a relationship lasting almost 50 years. To some extent, Brexit has become code for what kind of economy and society lies ahead for the peoples of Scotland and the United Kingdom. The most coherent case for Brexit is made by those who wish to reject what they characterise as the sclerotic European social model of too much public spending, too much taxation, too much welfare and too much regulation. If Scotland's constitutional future and Brexit were not enough to consider, there is growing concern about the ability of OECD governments to sustain their tax take as a share of gross domestic product in the face of automation, digitalisation and the power of multinational oligopolies. What does this mean for UK public spending and hence for Scottish public spending? The present UK fiscal austerity, though not deep on an annual basis, is the longest running for a century. Usually, austerity episodes last for 2 or 3 years, then the brakes come off. But 10 years after the 2008 global financial crisis, the repairs to the UK public finances are still not complete. There is no Brexit dividend for public spending. The macroeconomic effects of Brexit on the public finances will be much larger. For example, due to sterling depreciation and GDP growth rates being lower in the medium term than they would otherwise have been. Between the 2015 and 2017 UK general elections, there was a change in the general political mood about austerity in the direction of less acceptance. This has now reached the Conservative cabinet, as evidenced by undisciplined lobbying for more money for particular spending portfolios such as health and defence. Yet the economy is running close to full capacity, so higher public spending would have to be financed by higher taxation and resources must be transferred to exports. It is far from clear that the political mood about taxation has changed. That would take willingness to increase taxation across the board. The Scottish Government's 2018-19 budget proposal to increase the basic rate of income tax from 20% to 21% is small in revenue gains, but massively symbolic. The last increase in the basic rate of personal income tax was in the 1970s. This is something that governments have either not wanted to do or believed was politically impossible. If the UK wishes to maintain the present pattern of public finance services, then most people will have to pay more tax. This can be done transparently or through devices which will accentuate the faults in the UK tax system identified by the Merleys report of 2011. If there is no political willingness to do this, then what the state provides for citizens will either be openly reduced or allowed to deteriorate to unacceptable standards. Within the present constitutional settlement, the Scottish Government's capacity to spend is determined by the 2016 fiscal framework. If the UK spends more in England on services comparable to those devolved to Holyrood, then Scotland gains the Barnett formula consequentials. If the UK spends less, then these formula consequentials are negative. Over the 2010s, total funding for the Scottish Government has been reduced by 5% in real terms. That is taking account of general inflation, not of the inflation specific to public sector inputs. Holding down public sector pay has protected service levels, but pay pressures are clearly building up. At times in the 2000s, public spending was increasing by up to 4% per year in real terms. So there are two big questions. First, will Brexit be accompanied by a policy-driven reduction in the size of the UK state, Or will closeness to the European Union in trade and regulation mean that not much changes? Second, will the Scottish Parliament use its Scotland Act 2016 taxation powers to offset block grant reductions? If so, will that lead in due course to significant tax divergence from the rest of the United Kingdom, or will the UK government follow what Scotland has already done?